All right. Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, and welcome to the Master Motivation Podcast on this Monday, August 15th. Wow, the year is just flying by so fast. I'm excited to have our guest today. And let me just tell you a little bit about him before he tells you about himself. John Cassidy started martial arts at the age of 16, just 34 years ago. Mr. Cassidy founded TopKick Martial Arts in 1996 and has opened multiple locations in his career. He has franchised and sold locations, all while being an offsite owner since 2005. Reading the book E-Myth inspired this. As they sold off locations and ended franchise agreements over the past 5 years, John has simplified and diversified his investments. COVID definitely shook things up enough to realize that he didn't want to be all in on the brick and mortar model alone. Through COVID, he continued with the purpose to empower human potential by adding another vehicle to do that, and that is health coaching. It was a perfect fit as it was very much like the martial arts model. He could impact lives. The better and the more you do it, the more income you can earn. That extra stream of income during Titan times also opened up to real estate investing in short term Airbnb rentals. His goal was to have multiple streams of income: school ownership, health coaching, real estate, and then leverage the extra revenue with building investment portfolio. Well, thank you so much, sir, for being on with us today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, sir, how you doing? Super excited. I love what you've been doing and connecting with the martial arts world and community, bringing us all together for some time now. And I'm super excited and grateful to jump on with y'all.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a great day, and thank you, Joy Vincioni, for checking in and always watching. I know that you might have some questions. One of the great things about this podcast is, yes, there have been a lot of martial artists because that just happens to be our world. But we're going to talk about things that are a little bit outside of the martial arts world today and just kind of talk a little bit about your story. So if you could, just kind of give us, aside from the bio that I read, just a little bit more about your background.
Sure. Well, possibly I can align with a lot of people in this audience. And again, some people may be in martial arts or some people not, but nonetheless, early on, as young as 16, I started something that I became really passionate about, and that was martial arts. And again, I was kind of going through high school, getting into college, doing all that stuff, but nothing was clicking like it was in martial arts. And really at the early age, I kind of saw my master and what he was doing, and not only impacting people, and I was teaching a little bit at the time, as much as what teaching was like back then, of course, grown over time, but teaching a little bit, kind of like, hey, this is really cool. I love martial arts. I get to show other people about martial arts. People seem to like me teaching martial arts. And wait, I can make some money. And I saw my master, and it looked a little bit more like he had a business model. He had a nice home and a nice car. And at a young age, of course, I like things, but also over time, that's become less important. But because things come, if you do the right thing, do good by people, impact lives, the income comes. But that early on, that's what kind of attracted me to. I had a passion for martial arts, and if I could make money doing it, all the better.
Now, where did you grow up, and talk a little bit about your parents and your background as you were growing up?
Sure. I did. I grew up in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, about 30, 40 minutes outside of DC. At a young age, did the soccer, did football, did those team sports. And a little local martial arts school opened up in the neighborhood. I ended up I was stalking the school as it was getting the carpet laid down. Back then it was carpet over foam padding, not this nice mats that we get to put in these days. But nonetheless, it was a brand new school. It was opening up, and I always kept peeking in. And one day the Korean master was in there, and he's invited me in, and this was pre-opening. But basically, pre-openings were done different back then. It was just, hey, come on out. I met him. And I ended up being the first student at his location. So I did all the team sports, but early on, it's something that clicked with martial arts, and maybe many people in the audience can relate. I can really see team sports are powerful. They can instill, my kids do them, and I've done them, and I see many benefits from working as a team. But really, as a martial artist, I kind of saw how I showed up individually in class, how many times a week I would attend, how much effort I put into it, I would get that direct result, that outcome out of it. So I
Hmm.
really kind of started thriving with it, and it motivated me at that age of 16, really like to kind of go all in on training in martial arts. 4 or 5 days a week during the week, did a Saturday classes, so multiple classes during the day. And I do notice, that was a different time. Now, when my kids look for activities, there's so much to do. But at
Hmm.
that time, it was some team sports, and I got it. I did that, enjoyed it, but kind of really clicked in on martial arts. And parents were supportive, but they weren't pushing me too much. They didn't academics. I mean, they were happy. I was kind of a C student. And possibly in life, I don't strive to be a C student, but the topics that were going on in school, they were topics I wanted to put a C effort into. And
Hmm. Hmm.
so I just didn't, school was okay for me, then did the college. I felt I needed to do it. Um, and kind of through the years of college was teaching for my master's school as he opened up a couple locations. But I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. Um, and at that time, about 6 years into the extended college plan, doing 12 credits instead of the full 16 credits, also teaching full time at a martial arts school. I was like, what am I doing? I had an opportunity to take over kind of a martial arts school. It wasn't boom, it was a secondary location he opened up, but I kind of like, hey, this is something I could do.
Hmm. Well, you mentioned quite a few things, just kind of in your youth. First thing was how you latched on to martial arts because although you played the team sports, it just didn't connect with you in the same way that, martial arts connected with you in a way that team sports did not. And we hear that in our schools all the time. And
Yep.
and over the years, I think that we as school owners have adopted a whole different culture within our schools because I really think of martial arts definitely as an individual activity that you are rewarded on your benefits with the support system of your parents, instructors, team, and classmates. So, over the years that has definitely changed, but I know that we would hear that quite often that, team sports just didn't work for my child. So we looked into martial arts because it's a little bit more individual, like gymnastics or dance or
Yeah.
swimming, stuff like that. And then you talked about how, the training was different. I mean, just the overall culture of martial arts schools was definitely different when you started versus what it is now and what we strive to have in our schools. Dive into a little bit more detail what your training was like. What was the culture like? What was the experience that you had as you were training in martial arts as a
Yeah,
child?
yeah, definitely. And you tapped in on it. I think what our martial arts schools are doing these days much better than before. They do create that community. It's a bunch. So even back then, of course, I was doing it individually, but if I wasn't partnered up with someone doing partner kicks back and forth, pushing me to the next level, I want to have grown, I want to have thrived. So there was that community aspect, and I see that more and more being nurtured. And we know part of any success system, if you're in a community of people growing in the direction you want to grow, you're much more likely to get there. And so just over the years. And then you talked a little bit about training was different, and there's good and bad to it. I think our market's really big now, but what they're seeking to do music lessons, they're seeking to do the team sports, they're seeking to do martial arts as a hobby, at least as a starter. And that's what really, and there's different schools out there too doing it differently. But as a starting program for TopKick, we realized if someone's only coming 2 times a week initially, 35 to 45 minutes, their outcome or their pace is going to be different than what I did when I was 16 and say,
Hmm.
hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing 2 1 hour classes, Tuesday, Thursday, doing 2 1 hour. And within 9 months, I was interning on those extra days.
Hmm.
And then Saturday, and then went to a different location for sparring club. My all in was different back then, but I also
Right.
didn't have. I guess I filtered it too because I was 16, so I kind of did things. I said I'm ready to go all in. What we're seeing with the primary target we serve at TopKick is youth. A lot of the martial arts schools in America are targeting that, the school age kids 5 to 12. So a typical mom and dad phase one, what I see today, they're ready. Oh yeah, 2 times a week we can make that work. 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Right.
But we have to change our expectations too. They're not going to be a high performance player. They're getting exposed. They're getting a taste of martial arts. And over time, some schools do this very well. It's great. It seems you love this. This is what you could do next to expand that exposure. So I think we've evolved well to accommodate a larger market that say, hey, I'll raise my hand. I'll do this.
Yeah, I think when we were younger, because it seems like we're right in the same age bracket, that we did one activity, and that one activity, whether it was a season at a time or it was just like, for me, it happened to be martial arts. I didn't play other team sports or activities, but my brother played baseball, and that was kind of like his main thing. He didn't really go back and forth. The only time he really did karate was when he didn't have baseball. And when he got real serious about baseball, there wasn't enough time for karate. Whereas now, you said parents are kind of dipping their fingers into each activity. They're trying things out. I mean, we hear this. This is really common. We just want to try it and see if they like it.
Yes.
And it is what it is, right? That's where they start. And it is up to us to provide that experience of, okay, here's our trial program, which for us is a year. And then you can, excel and move forward into our elite training program. And then from elite training, you have leadership training or demo team competition. So there's definitely a different path. Most parents are putting their kids in as many different activities as they possibly can to see what sticks. Whereas the old train of thought was, you're going to do this one thing and this is what's going to stick. Like, this is just what it is. Right. So different time. And here we are, that's where we were as kids. And here we are still doing martial arts after all of these years. Now, you became an instructor. I think you said at 16 is when you
I started martial arts at 16, but early on, my masters were incorporating me as a helper on the floor. And by the time at 18, aggressive training, little over 2 years, earned my black belt. And again, all schools are different, but a fully committed 16-year-old going all in, it made sense. I really loved it. And, so as I was green belt to black belt, I was getting exposed more and more to being involved into the school, helping out, assisting, all that good stuff. And then at 18 years old, 19, started being a primary instructor as they expanded 2-3 locations. So really going to college, community college at first, and then George Mason after that, was just kind of weaving in college and weaving in a full-time job of becoming a teacher. But really my role was really focused on teaching. It wasn't necessarily the numbers, the front desk management at that phase of the journey.
And what style of martial arts did you start in, and is that the main style that you've remained consistent with all the way through?
Yeah, good question. It was Taekwondo, Korean-based Taekwondo. And then over time, we really didn't brand TopKick as TopKick Taekwondo. We branded it as TopKick Martial Arts because what we wanted, where Taekwondo is the foundation, what we found out over many years, there was a lot of styles, a lot of techniques out there we wanted to incorporate it. So we really branded it as TopKick Martial Arts. And fundamentally, the color belts are learning Taekwondo style, but we infuse some of the other great martial arts into it.
And how did you come into ownership of your first school?
Oh, yeah. So really at the age of 23, Master Kim had a location. It was a newer location, opened about 11 months. And at the 12th month, I think his free rent was fading off, and the school really didn't get established. So it was going to free rent or half rent, whatever, first 12-month deal. But it was kind of like, there was conversations prior to this that, hey, I'd love to own a school, but it was different. You weren't, nowadays we're signing leases, personal guarantee, try to avoid personal guarantees, all that stuff. But back then, Master Kim was on the lease. he was ready to hand the baton, but also hand the financial baton over. Like, hey, you got to take care of it. It wasn't an aggressive purchase number, but for me at 23, it was certainly more than I had in my pocket. And so I bought the school, but it was doing like $4,000 a month, and I think rent was $4,800. So it was, and I remember telling, not my wife, at the time, my girlfriend that became my wife, hey, if we ever grow this to become 10,000, it'd be pretty cool. And eventually that school grew above 100 grand a month. So it worked out. But there was worry getting a truck repoed. My truck repoed at one point. I invested in trainings and learnings, traveling to industry events where, I didn't have money for the food court. So, but I'd put money invested into the learning and development. So it helped us grow.
And so what would you say was your main challenge other than the school was kind of upside down? What were some things that you realized very quickly that you were not yet equipped with to run a business?
Yeah, well, pretty much everything in the front office, and then also really, like school management, handling the finances, handling the enrollments. And it was a different stuff. I'd jump off the mat doing a warm up and get a trial at the front desk. It was a smaller style that grew. And as it grew, it was learning how to help others do similar stuff, even when I wasn't an expert or not even close to an expert. But something was working. We were growing the numbers in those early stages. You could say, whoa, we grew 50% in 1 month, and then we grew, oh man, we grew 20%. And it was definitely a startup, So I would say having the skill on the mat, but over the years, of course, fine tuning that, having somewhat skill on the mat that was working well, but not having the understanding of the front office and the power of marketing, getting people in the door to experience the mat.
What was the biggest turning point for you of getting that school to become more successful or profitable?
I would say getting outside the bubble of that school is investing, kind of seeing some of at the time, billing companies and stuff like that were around, and they're still around, but they were tied to either billing companies with consulting companies, kind of getting outside, going to the industry and starting to learn what other people were doing. So I could come back to my school and incorporate those things. So that was a big game changer. It helped awaken me to the business. Like, hey, this is a real business, and it's got a much bigger upside.
And what was the first industry event, or what were some of the events that you attended right off the bat?
Well, I had a Korean master, so he was involved in AMS, which was a billing company. I think they're still around, servicing people. And so for many years, that was a powerful component. It definitely breathed life into me and gave me a lot of ideas and concepts. And actually, a big part of our model became after school and summer camp. So I was exposed to that possibility through AMS. Also, going down to some of the Florida NAPMA events in the early days. You recall any of those? Did you do it?
It's interestingly enough, I never went to EFC events, NAPMA events. Even though I opened my first school in 90, well, I started the program in 94, opened the school in 96, and I don't think I went to my first industry event until 2006 or 2004, and that was the Martial Arts Super Show. And that's really been the focus of my training on the business side is going through the Maya program, working with Mike Metzger, Frank Silverman, Robbie Beard. Those were, my mentors and people that I still to this day, consider to be the people that I look to for, higher learning. But yeah, all those other events, people ask me that all the time. And I just, I don't know if I missed it or I was just kind of tunnel vision into one area. But yeah, and I've gone to Florida a number of times because that's where a lot of those guys are. But
Yeah.
Never hit the
No,
NAPMA
it's
again.
and then I think those were the starting ground for us, and they got us rolling, and then we were able to get more and more involved. So we definitely made it to Super Show many years, and tapping into that, the Maya, all that stuff. So it's great. The resources over time have just been changing, improving, and of course, with this digital technology we're on today, like you're able to access so much
Hmm.
without traveling now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and you bring up a good point. There's so many outlets. When I first started going to the Super Show or to the Maya events, there were one or two or three events a year. Now it seems like there's an event every weekend, and everyone is a consultant or everyone is a mentor. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing I would just think like, hey, has there been the growth? Are there more schools out there, or is there just more exposure? Kind of like with social media, it allows a lot of exposure. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's been growth, just how people see it.
Mm,
That being said, there's a lot of people going to, it's been some years, COVID was a big interruption, getting to the martial arts super show, but getting there this past year, just again, seeing the right people, hearing the right message. And again, we all are at a different stage of our journey. So we may go into one topic, and even though that person's skilled in that topic, it may have no relevance or timing
mhm,
for me right now. But um, it's finding the right person,
mhm,
just utilizing the right info at the right time of your business. So
mhm,
I think there's maybe it's too much. I would like to, like, as far as mentors, coaches, I always look for someone who's ahead of me. If it's going to
mhm,
be martial arts business, if martial arts business has multiple facets, it may be, hey, floor instruction. It may be, hey, I want to level up my skill, physical skill. Hey, may want to be, how do I grow the income? How do I do the marketing? Those can be all different people,
mhm.
and financial planning. I want someone with way more money in their account than than me to give me advice. Health coaching, us with health coaching. Again, I wouldn't follow if I was going to a trainer in the gym, or if I was trying to follow a person on a program. Well, I would want someone who walked the walk, or is walking the walk, or is a few steps ahead of me on that journey to be
Mhm,
my guide.
mhm.
So I think there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't even know. We don't know what we don't know.
Right,
So I can't discredit anyone. It just may not be the right thing for me or
right.
for another person.
And I think that that's a really good point. Is that we're all on a different we're all on in a different spot in our journey, and although this person is doing really well here, that may not be my next step. My next step may be here, or this person is going to help me to get to that level to where I work with that next
Yep.
person. The other thing too is that I feel like, for me, one of the biggest struggles in the beginning was I became an information collector, where I would be going to these seminars and listening to and trying to do everything. And when we try to do everything, we really don't accomplish a whole lot of anything,
Yeah.
because we're just so busy in the process and not really getting to that next step. So I think that that's something that is important for us, to be able to take information and be able to break it down and implement it. Because if we're just collecting more and more information but not really implementing it, it's not moving us forward. So that's something that I like to try to remind even my own clients is, let's take it a little bit slower. Because if you look at black belt, you can only you're going to earn one belt at a time, and you can only go to one class at a time and practice that material to get to that next level.
Well, I can totally relate, and I appreciate you bringing this up, because reality is, for many years and still to this day, it's easy to become distracted. For example, you could go to a super show and look at all the great topics, speakers, etc. But realistically, someone could get the value from one speaker, one sentence they said, if they took action and applied it.
Hmm.
So it doesn't take everything, but some people walk away from an event like that and then don't do anything. So I've been better with, like, okay, leaving a day or two after event and have a debrief day. What are
Hmm.
my action steps? Good. Narrow it down to 3. There's
Mm-hmm.
100 things I heard. Well, what are the three most important?
Right.
Okay, what am I going to start doing today, or what can I start moving on today? So it is, yeah, that's the biggest challenge I think for many of us. For me, for sure.
And I think, kind of segue into, just talking about your health coaching at the
Sure.
same time, right? I mean, we can face the same challenge there where we're trying to focus on diet, we're trying to focus on exercise, we're trying to focus on this and that and the other. And what really needs to be focused on first is the right mindset,
Yep.
and getting that mindset right, and then getting to those action steps. So tell me a little bit about how you became a health coach, and where did that come from, through your martial arts journey.
Sure. Well, as martial artists, instructors, and so forth, and generally we're trying to stay healthy, strong, fit. Reality is kids, family, life circumstances, there's ups and downs. It's a journey, no different than us owning a martial arts school. And what I found is, you know, 3 months into the COVID shutdown, that, I was my lifestyle habits were getting disrupted. They weren't perfect before, so I can't blame it fully on that. But realistically, stuck at home, eating more, drinking more, exercising less, I packed on some extra weight. And I was like, wait, and I've done things, I've done macro tracking. My wife and I've had instructors as part of our kickboxing school get precision nutrition certified. We understood the macros, but we also understood the complexity and the, what we were coaching before. And even being a gym owner where we had an adult fitness program, we would say, great, let's teach you what to eat and get you to come to the gym 6 times a week. Well, reality is they weren't good at either. So we're having them chase 2 rabbits in a field rather than focus on one and then go towards the other. And yourself, myself, all the martial arts school owners out there know healthy movement and exercise is super important. Yet, even more so, the biggest thing that does a heavy lifting is nutrition. And so during that phase, I reached out to my coach, my mentor, Mike Storms. And I was like, I was actually driving to the beach. I'm at the beach right now with my sons. That's what, maybe a little noise in the background. They went to the upper level. But reality is I was driving to the beach Memorial Day weekend. I wasn't feeling comfortable in my own skin. I said, hey, Mike, whatever you've been doing, let's talk. Let's do this. Little did I know, we don't know what we don't know. I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was getting in to lose a couple pounds. What I realistically learned, it was much bigger than that. It was a personal development program with a weight loss component or a healthy habits component. And you mentioned earlier, like even with this martial art, us learning business techniques, we got to do one little thing at a time. And that's what was a big game changer for me, and a big game changer what we offer our clients is we're really helping them with one healthy habit at a time. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about going after everything. Yes, showing up at the gym is super important, but how many people do that January 1st and then they stop by January 10th? And
Mm-hmm.
they started meal prep January 1st and they stopped that by January 10th if they've gone even 10 days because it's so hard. So if what we've done, and I've learned it firsthand, is hey, let's work on the nutrition, make it simple, get someone feeling better, get someone feeling healthier. And we really coach where someone can have more habits of health in their lifestyle than habits of disease. Because we know if we're carrying extra weight or we weren't on blood pressure medicine years ago, but we are on it now, this is not by accident. It's because of choices. So
Mm-hmm.
we help clients day by day develop healthier choices that are winning for them as opposed to breaking them down. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up Mike Storms. We have him coming up on September 5th. So I just want
Awesome.
to remind everybody that's watching us now that we're going to be checking in with him very soon. When you guys are, because now I want to really get into, talking about healthy habits. What is usually the first, let's just say the first 3 things when you're working with a client and you're talking about healthy habits and replacing those bad habits or those unhealthy habits? What are usually the first 3 things that you recommend?
Well, One of the things is something we can all do free of charge. Water, drink more water. And a lot of people, now, if that habit, some people could still be out of check and have that habit dialed in, and it's great. We're like, congratulations, awesome. Let's keep that amount of water coming in. But at minimum, a baseline would be 64 ounces. And we've all heard kind of 8 cups of 8 ounces a day, or 8 glasses, 8 ounces a day is good. But reality is, another metric to use is half your body weight in ounces. So if I was 200 pounds, it'd be about 100 ounces. And then if you're adding in workout or your summer heat, you're in California, correct? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The warmer weather, adding extra water wouldn't hurt beyond that number. So one is a free thing. But again, we all know water is kind of good for us. If we haven't been able to do it yet, that's where a coach comes in, and kind of that's just part of the formula. So like if you think of our martial arts school, they work really well because we have this community. We talked about it, a community growing in the direction that people want to grow. The better leaders, most impactful leaders are really anchoring in on that. They have a system, the curriculum, that's proven it's going to get a result as long as they follow the system. And there's the knowledge component. What do they need to learn with that system as they grow in their journey? So we provide that. And then the last thing is a coach and a mentor. In martial arts, it's an instructor or a master. So that's, the system would be, or the knowledge, I need to drink water, but maybe I need a coach during the initial phase to kind of kickstart that, among the other things. So hydration is one. Smaller amount of food throughout the day. So smaller, we call them, we want to fuel our body. So anything we put in our mouth, food or water, food or drink, is either helping us or hurting us. So what we start doing is helping clients just eat small, healthy portions throughout the day. That's a big thing. When I started with Mike, energy levels were all throughout the day. And I'd even notice, I have this big lunch. And then about an hour later, body would crash because it was the wrong things. If we buy a high performance car, we would never put the wrong fuel in it. And we know we're going to get a new one in 2-3 years, or maybe 5 years, 10 years, whenever. But bottom line, we'd put the right fuel in it. With ourselves, our body, which needs to last a whole lot longer, that gets neglected. And it's not, the human population isn't to blame. Really, the food industry out there is designed to make us crave the things that aren't really the best for us. So as health coaches, we help people with healthy swaps. Hey, you like your coffee in the morning? Okay, I love my espresso in the morning. But what I add to that espresso is a game changer. And like Darren Hardy, the compound effect. It's like if I was drinking a cup of coffee with a little cream, little too much sugar each and every day for 4 years, that has a long-term compound effect. Now, if I figure out with a client, how to do a healthy swap, and then they do that for 4 years, they're leaning in the positive direction. But we do that throughout the whole day. So healthy fuelings, eating multiple times a day, smaller amount to keep the energy levels boosted. And sleep is powerful. It's one of the most important things out there. So again, we don't attack it all, but nutrition actually helps with, a lot of things involved with sleep and energy. Of course, you can understand that. So, but we break it down, make it simple. And as a coach, if you think of like how we treat a no belt or a white belt, whatever the school owners out there start members, brand new people in a school, we kind of think of them as a newborn, an infant. When they walk in, we're going to coddle and nurture them, help them get comfortable. And then as they grow, we can let go a little bit. We do that the same thing with new health coaching clients. Week 1, we're kind of on them. We're connecting, making sure everything's tight and right. And then as we move forward, they get more day by day, they're building healthier habits and they're getting the compound effect. Where, one thing I noticed too is because I love travels, vacations, and we still enjoy, we enjoy our choices. If I go to place where the best tacos in the world, I'm going to have those tacos. But in that given week, I'm still making 90% good choices, 10% not vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. Well, first of all, you brought up a great book recommendation. I think I've read the book Compound Effect. Amazing book. Everybody should read that. And it's very simple. It's a very easy read.
Yes.
And you read it and you go, I know this. I know this, but I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you were talking about the food, um, something just stuck out. And again, I know this, right? But you said what you're eating is either helping you or hurting you.
Yeah.
And when you kind of put it in that context, like it makes you really think about the key point of the choice. You have the choice of what you're going to put in your body. And sometimes we eat out of convenience, or we eat out of
Yeah.
just I'm starving and I'm just going to grab something quick and go. With that thought in mind, we might be able to make better choices. And I want to real quick just say hi to Gabby. Hey Gabby, thanks for watching today.
Hey, Gabby.
So
Yeah, and
yeah.
Jason, you bring up, yeah, that's a whole point too, and it's the same thing. It's and giving people the control to make, hey, you're busy, I'm busy. Most people are out there busy, but in a pinch, if they have easy grab and go options, then I
Hmm.
won't get to the point where I come home like martial art instructors come home maybe 9, 10 at night. They're
Hmm.
hungry as any. When I was 25 to 35, I could get away go out to dinner with instructors, but it would hit
Right.
me differently if I was doing that type of meal that late at night. But it was like we were basically working out, teaching hours
Hmm.
and hours, and we gave our body no fuel. But one of my mentors, he said something just like you said, anything we're putting in and out of our mouth is either helping or hurting us. But he says, hey, do we have more habits of disease in our life or habits of health? And it's not coaching our clients doesn't really have anything to do about making them perfect. We're not perfect. We actually, our clients empower us. They help us become better. Just like us as teachers, martial art teachers, we grow because of our students grow. As long as we're the good instructor seeking growth, we're growing right along with them. And
Hmm.
it adds that accountability effect for us too. So we love it.
Well, I want to come back to this because you shared this with me earlier in a message, and I had asked you for a quote, but you sent me the top kick purpose, and you just mentioned the word empower. We empower human potential and spark adventure of self discovery. We make the world a better place every day.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, years ago we did a splice team, and what was splice team was grabbing like our best after school coordinator, grabbing our best program director, grabbing our best instructor, grabbing one of the owners. We came up with this mixed group of team members that were really good in their department, and this was a multi-location environment, and we really had to define what we were doing as a company. What was our purpose? And what you read was our purpose. We empower human potential and spark the adventure of self discovery. We make the world a better place every day. When we know that, and every day is not by accident, it's intentional. Every day. It's not optional. We do this
Hmm.
every day. So when I thought about health coaching, do you nowhere in there it said we kick and punch? No, this is like it's almost my personal purpose and the purpose of all these team members. We came together and we just didn't say what we wanted to do. We kind of identify what we've been doing, but we put it in a few short sentences.
Hmm.
So accidentally, we've been doing this all for so many years 15, 20 years. We just defined it 8 years ago. But that being said, when a new curriculum comes about, a new training program comes about, we can really put it, does it plug into our purpose? Well, it makes sense. And
Hmm.
so when we looked at health coaching and we had these wins ourselves working with our own coach, and we're like, man, and it was COVID. We got shooken up on a brick and mortar model. We love our martial arts. We love our martial arts business. It's provided for my family so well over many years, and a lot of other martial arts can relate. And I'm all about that. And we're going to keep going forward with that. But also, I realized I was all in on martial arts at that phase. So what it did, it allowed me to look into more vehicles to fulfill that purpose. And it wasn't just a brick and mortar martial arts model. It was,
Mm-hmm.
hey, wait, health coaching. Wait, will we empower human potential if we can help someone level up their health, go pro with their health, get more habits of health than habits of disease? Will we spark the adventure of discovery when they learn new recipes? Will they learn a swap for their coffee or stop drinking soda and start drinking this? And
Mm-hmm.
then 3 months later, they're like, I don't even know why I did that before. Or they every night it was a routine to have a glass of beer or wine. And I enjoy a drink here and there, but the difference was I doing it too much than too little?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's different. So it really, we found that that purpose you mentioned, it plugged right into health coaching. It plugs, of course, into our martial art models, but it plugs into how am I going to raise my kids, or what activities are we going to choose? How is this going to empower them? Is it going to
Mm-hmm.
spark their mind to work? So it's really my team, thankful for them. And some have moved on. Their friends, they bought schools from me, or they evolved and opened another, and we blessed that. And one way or other, we all came together. But it's really like my personal, I say it's the TopKick purpose, but of course it's got to align with how I function.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Well, I love it. And thank you for sharing that. I'd like you to share one more thing because you shared this with me also. And I don't often get to have a guest talk about that spiritual path. And you sent me scripture from Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. God will be with you and will never forsake you.
Yeah.
Explain that to the audience, please.
Well, for sure. And again, being a Christian, I know many people walk with different faiths, but for me, this is important. And being an entrepreneur in general, we have ups and downs in our journey, and fortunately, there's been more ups than downs, and we just keep on a trend that way. But overall, I know I can be confident in my journey. I know I'm taken care of, and also but I got to be obedient in that journey too, and do the right things, and overall have the right direction. And that's why that's a scripture, but even leaning to our purpose, that's what it's all about. We want to impact people. We want to build confidence in people. We want to awaken people. We want, whether it's our martial art members or clients or coaches we work with, instructors. And then I want people to be bold, and I want to be bold and confident through this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for sharing that, and thank you for sharing those quotes and those thoughts with me, so that we could talk about it here on the podcast, and everybody listening can enjoy this as well. If you're still watching and you have any questions before we wrap things up, would love to hear from the audience. Gabby, thank you again. Thanks for chiming in today.
Thank
Um,
you, Gabby.
a- any questions, guys? Any questions you want to ask John before we go? I've really enjoyed the conversation today. Just kind of getting
Likewise.
to know you a little bit more and sharing your story with the audience. I said in the beginning, and we could both agree that if anybody listening to this, just one person, this will make a difference in their life, whether it be, talking about motivation or inspiration, talking about the health coaching, whatever it might be. We hope that you take something away from this and share it with somebody else. So, if there are no questions, John, I just want to thank you again for being on the show. I appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing. I follow you on social media, and I love what I see. So I'll continue to help putting that stuff out there as well in our group.
Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for having me on.
All right. Well, guys, we'll be back on again next week on Monday. And just for those of you watching, if you would like to nominate someone to be a guest on this Master Motivation Show, I am booking 2023. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, just send me a private message. Would love to connect, and love to have more people on the show to share their story. So that's it for today. And we will be back again next Monday at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.